Hey, what's up? My name is Chase Reeves, and this is a review of when Jordan Peterson interviewed Joe Rogan. That's maybe one of the broiest things I've ever said in my entire fucking life. It was a good conversation, and one that when I saw that it had happened, I was like, oh shit, what is this gonna be like? Because it happened on Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel, which is, can we talk about Jordan Peterson for a second? Some people totally hate him. And I see why. I get it. He can be such a dick. He seems like a dick. He like triggers the nerves in us that's like, this guy could be a dick nerve. But I actually found him a while ago when he only had lectures on his website. And so you knew you were taking a course. And I had heard about him somewhere. And I only got through half of his Maps of Meaning lecture, which is like the way he breaks down Pinocchio literally blew my mind. Because as a media guy, I'm constantly studying story because it helps me with marketing. I build companies and marketing guy. I'm like one of those guys. I can kind of do some of that stuff. I can make people think I know what I'm doing. And oftentimes it works out. And I study the shit out of story. And Jordan Peterson, in those handful of videos I watched, were like, I learned a lot about story. So that was my context for him. Why I always started listening to him. Like why I was like, oh yeah, there's that professor guy. And then you listen to him. Some people really hate Jordan Peterson. And my point is that a lot of those people, I don't think have really listened to much of the guy in my life, the people that I'm meeting. I'm like, hey, that's cool. No, because it's really important. Some of these other social justice missions that are happening right now, like like we gotta get over gender in an important way. Masculine and feminine energies run through all of our veins. These ideas of the wholeness and the unity of these two is really kind of what our species in some ways represents. So Jordan Peterson is a very complicated character. He brings up a lot of interesting issues and is perfectly timed because I have studied this guy as a form of platform. You know, we have a platform as a president. Right? Platform is this thing that like Ellen DeGeneres has a platform. Jay-Z, or for my Canadian brothers and sisters, Jay-Z has a platform. Pretty cheap to throw in the Z joke. I'm married to a Canadian. I love Canada. I lived in Regina, Saskatchewan. Shout out to my boys. Platform in modern day times is power in a very real sense. It's the Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message kind of thing. And it's activating all of culture. All of what's cool is totally studyable. And I've loved studying it. And when I heard Jordan Peterson, who I understand now is a very complicated person, I was interested in him because he was helping me understand story. And then he was, I have never seen a platform grow that fast. He just went from zero to fucking huge everywhere, it seemed like, overnight. And that was what clued me into this Joe Rogan thing that's going on. Have you listened to some Joe Rogan podcasts? If you haven't, like, you're missing out. It is the conversations I wished I overheard my dad and older brother having. Like, imagine if your dad and your older brother could actually talk, but they were really fierce, both of them just really fierce people. And you got to just listen to him talk, it would be like, whoa, what's he gonna do? That's what I feel like the Joe Rogan conversations end up feeling like. At least the ones that I listen to, because Lord knows I don't listen to all of them. I don't do all the MMA stuff. It's just not my gig. But all of I was just listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Fascinating. Like, they got into such interesting things where Joe Rogan's like, hey man, you can't stop doing something just because like a very loud minority of assholes are telling you to stop doing that because it ruins that for them or something like that. And as I say that, I'm getting self-conscious because as a rule, what we're learning in platform, and this is not anything new, it's that when you have conflict, when you have people that will land on either side of something, it drums up the energy and the interest in that thing. Hello?
Daddy, where are you?
Buddy, I'm recording a video.
Oh, you're in the garage.
Yeah, I'm recording a video in the garage. That was my son. Because I'm a dad. I'm interested in a lot of these conversations and a lot of these topics because I'm a dad. And I'm having to decide like what world I'm trying to like develop them in, because you can let them see anything at any age. And the question, the good question is like, whoa, what is a developing human? And how do we do we keep it from being really traumatized and hurt and put into a corner where it's got to fight for itself for the rest of its life? And this is why the Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson conversation is such an interesting one, because it's on Jordan Peterson's YouTube page, which is not a very active page. It's not like it's like a new podcast that he's just started doing. It seems like, he's been doing podcasts for a while, but this is the first thing that I've seen that I've paid attention to, at least. Sorry, Jordan. But like, I have like so much of Jordan Peterson in me already now that I'm like, okay, I need to go somewhere else, because I'm also married and like am in a lot of conversations with my wife. And my wife trues me up. I have kids. I'm a dad, but I'm also a fucking husband. And that has been gig priority numero uno for a long time, because she's incredible and she's amazing and I'm pretty great too. And we have a blast together, and like we have good friends and we love entertaining and we're interested in just the bigger, juicier questions in life. I love that I get to do that with her. And so when she talks, I listen. And one of the things that she's been talking about is what it's like to be a woman. And that became really clear to me through our labors and through our first son. My son's 9, and my child just like tore through her, and she developed her in her body. And it's like this was like, fucking what the shit? I was poorly prepared for that moment. And for these reasons, the Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson conversation is so interesting, because I don't want Family Guy and The Simpsons to be what defines my idea of family and what defines my idea of what it means to be a dad or what it means to be a man, right? I'm feeling a lot of the other thing that's going on here is fucking weed, you guys. There's this thing called cannabis that's been legalized in the West Coast. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it is a green plant bud. It has this cannabinoids in it that when they're heated up at the right temperature, they'll vaporize, and then you inhale those, and it goes through your bloodstream, and it connects to some cannabinoid receptors. That somehow we have these cannabinoid receptors like in our brain, which is, I don't know what they're for, but they're really good at when you smoke cannabis. You think differently. Your thought process grinds to a halt, and you're looking at one thing, and you're just focused on it. And you might be staring out, not looking at this thing at all. But the same thing happens within your mind. You can look at an idea or a thought or a feeling, and really explore it and watch it. And you're like just in that like slow as molasses kind of like, what is happening right now? Well, before cannabis, I had been a fucking mystic and a religious scholar of sorts, like an armchair religious scholar. I mean, I got a degree in it and everything, but most of what I would consider my studies have been postgraduate and not certified. But I became a mystic at some point in my life. Something about the cannabis and the movement of my body and the stillness in the present moment, like synced back up with when I used to be a hardcore Christian dude, like a hardcore evangelical. And I wasn't raised in anything, so I didn't know what an evangelical was. And even as I start talking about it, I just want to go, you know what? I see that hand. I see that hand. Praise the Lord. I was a worship leader guy at some points. I've been on stage manipulating audiences is one way to look at it. For me, it was a very real thing. It was like, there's this experience in worship, and some of you just went, ugh, like you just cringed. I get it. For some reason, that word did not offend me. Like I wanted to worship. I wanted to feel like I belonged to something. Like there was something going on. Like it's good and not bad. And this is why the Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan conversation was so interesting to me, because I literally took notes on the whole thing. I'll put a link below. You can download my notes. I have like all of these notes that I've taken from it because I got the iPad Pro and I actually like use it like a bunch to keep track of my ideas because my life is a fucking train wreck sometimes. And this is why the Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson conversation is so interesting. All right, let me break it down for you. Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson are two guys that are basically playing the game of like, I don't play a fucking game, dude. This is what you're getting. Like, it's called presence. It's called presence, right? And it's related to authenticity, okay? When you can send out an actual authentic, resonant signal. We're kind of sensitive to that in each other. That's what so much of art is especially music. Music is like, is this? Have you ever been to a festival? You've seen how festivals are like music addicts, you know, because it feels really good to just go, fuck, man, if I let myself go to this music, it's like I can go to like another place. So these are two guys playing that presence game, which I'm really interested in because I want to be a person. Like I want to be I want to be really here. I don't want to be like just told what to do by everybody. I don't want to be just a cog in the machine that I really don't understand in some ways, you know? And I look at human nature and I feel like I understand a lot of this. I've felt a lot of these feelings. I know we all know what it's like to have our hearts broken, you know? So anyways, my 20 minutes are up here. I should stop now. Here's the deal. The Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson conversation on Jordan Peterson's channel, which just recently came out, is 2.5 hours of very two guys that are not playing the game. And two things start to happen. Number one, I started to see some of the game that Jordan Peterson is in. I mean, can you imagine what his life has been like and the amount of education he's gone through about like media and fucking the way that the internet works over the last little while. So he lives in a bit of a bubble in some ways, and rightfully so. And Joe Rogan would as well, because we don't know how like celebrities live a lot of the time. But I'm a Z-list internet celebrity. I did a internet startup that was successful that we bootstrapped with my partner Corbett Barr called Fizzle.co, which is still alive and thriving to this day, teaching people how to earn a living doing something they actually fucking care about instead of being dicked around from company to, I don't know if companies are really dicking people around, but anyways, that's where a lot of people who feel like that end up at Fizzle, and we teach them how to start stuff. If they're successful, I don't know, because there's no guarantees in any of this stuff. And I see these two guys as two great examples of guys that have known that there's no guarantees. And that's the fucking conversation. Joe Rogan's story is an excellent story. You find out about the diligence with which he's pursued his comedy and the martial arts stuff and all this stuff. He fucking cries, telling this amazing story of he doesn't tell it very well, but like, I was stoned enough to really get the embellishment in it because his emotion was so raw and honest, and it's powerful to see that. I think a lot of guys out there don't know how to tap into that. That's what growth is. That's where love is, right? So it's a really good conversation, and I recommend this. I recommend, if you have a little cannabis, or if you don't, take some notes. Just treat it like you're getting to be sitting at the feet of like you're back in Greek and Roman times, and you're like some general is in town, and you get to hear his stories of war, places you've never even been, right? Just think about it as like, whoa, this is a story of what the real world's like out there, and let it remind you of yourself, and see the ways in which you're already doing it, man. It's not like some new thing you've got to figure out somewhere. It's already happening. You're already here, right? And we can get involved in the project of improving ourselves out of love, out of like, I want it. I want to be better. I'm sick of disciplining myself through life, thinking that I'm someday gonna finally be good enough. If you can't be good enough right now, you won't be then. This is where it starts. I'm talking about good enough to start, good enough to be you, good enough to be you. You can do this. You've got it, right? You've already been doing it. When we were pregnant with, this was with Rowan. I'll tell you the story of Rowan sometime. My wife was saying during transition and labor, she was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's really common. This thing called transition. It's this moment where it goes like, oh shit, it just got real. You're like, wasn't it just real for a really long time and now it's more real now? And my wife was saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. And the midwife just grabbed her and said, you can do this. You are doing this.